playbook, and then spend this year teaching them, getting more of those reps and instructing off the tape.
Ton of talent out there. How do you get to evaluating the talent to know kind of how to use it, when to use it, and kind of who can do certain things?
Well, I think that there's a ton of diversity with what it is that we're doing with our team right now. I think that the special teams 20 minutes that we spend pre-practice is invaluable because we're banking a bunch of reps and different techniques and things that show up all over the football field, even though it may be specific to kickoff return. That could also be pass protection. That could also be perimeter blocking. So making sure that we got to do a great job evaluating through those reps that Coach Cooper's doing a great job of getting from there. We're still got our daily emphasis on what wins and loses games. And then we're getting a ton of team reps. That's one thing that Coach Lashley said when he got here. He said, "Man, we're going to go play football as much as we possibly can." Even me, myself included. We all get not frustrated, but we all wish we had more individual time where we could get into this step and making sure my hat's exactly right here. But at the end of the day, you got to practice football to be good at playing football. And so I do think that we're making strides from that standpoint, from an execution standpoint.
Another year in, what's Preston step forward at, and what are you looking for Preston to step forward at?
Preston's just coming along. I think the biggest thing for Preston Preston needs to be Preston. And I think that there's a lot of weight and pressure that can be put, and he's got a lot of outside attention for a guy that's taken, less than 100 snaps in his career, and if he'll go out there, we got a lot of good players around him, be a great distributor of the ball, which he is, and he is naturally really good at being a lights come on gamer football player, right? That part of playing football is super natural and super easy for him. So he doesn't need a ton of practice at that, right? We got to make sure that we keep him in a pocket setting and making sure that he understands how we want to execute the offense to the entirety, and reading the receivers and understanding how to adjust the protections and doing what he's doing with our outside and our RPO game and things like that. So it's continuing to develop him within the offense. He's coming along at exactly the rate he needs to be, in my opinion. He's not in the running for the Heisman, and he's not a freshman anymore. You know what I mean? He's kind of in the progression where he needs to be. He's got 4 hard weeks coming up in September that he's got to go out there and just be himself. You know what I mean? He ain't got to go beat Louisiana Tech and then Oklahoma and Prairie View and TCU. That's not his responsibility to do that. His responsibility is to go out there, make sure that we settle down, execute the offense, get the ball where it's supposed to be, and organically what he's really good, what he's naturally good at is going to show up during the course of the game.
What are your expectations for RJ Maryland? And did you have to be over his shoulder saying, "Hey man, make sure you're eating, this, man, we'll bulk you up a little bit"?
No, really not.
Yeah.
RJ's been a super professional about that, and he's kind of always had that demeanor about him. Obviously his background, but he's just kind of that kind of kid. He's serious about what he wants. He's intentional. He don't say a lot, and then I say in March I said, "Hey RJ, by August 1st, you need to weigh this weight, and it needs to be this body fat percentage." And he showed up 235 and 14% body fat. You know what I mean? And RJ's taking a step, in my opinion. He's understanding the physical part of the game. He was always a physical kid. He was willing to do it, but understanding how to is different leveraging a high school defensive end than it is, Oklahoma's defensive ends. So making sure that he gets out here. We got unbelievable. We are. From my standpoint, Coach Simons will come in here and speak to it. I do think that we got a lot more talent on defense, and size and speed and physicality and professionalism there. So that's great work for us, and that's going to help RJ's development. But I really haven't had to be over his shoulder. He's done a great job of being that. I got high expectations for RJ. I think that he's again, he needs to be himself. He doesn't need to go carry this thing, but he does. We talked a lot in the off season. We watched several. He was in some publication. He was a freshman All-American, right? But so we went and dug up the All-Americans and the All-Conference players, from our conference, and then the All-Americans, and I had him make a 10-play cut-up of all 6 of those guys, so he could go say, RJ, you show me where your game's different than his. Show me why his game is better than yours. Show me, why can you not accomplish what you want to here? And he did a great job. He invested himself in that, and really, I think he enjoyed watching Dalton Kincaid from Utah last year and some of those guys. And he's he's got a different demeanor out there this year. It's good to see him in that role.
Yeah.
It's hard. He's a young guy still. He's still. It's his second fall in college, so he's still a pretty young guy for doing what he's doing.
Yeah, follow up to that. What was the hope with that project?
One, you teach them to watch film. You teach them. I do think that we've come across a generation that doesn't maybe like football like I grew up liking football. There's just so much other stuff in your face all the time. You know what I mean? So it's not that they don't like it. It's just that there's other things to do, and so to kind of get them interested and invested the way that I was raised, and not that it was right or wrong, but it made me a football junkie. I oftentimes I think, particularly in the recruiting process, and this is kind of independent of that, but I think we're coaching the best athletes we've ever coached ever.
Yeah.
Right? They're trained. They all got trainers. They all got footwork. They're fastest they've ever trained. They're the most explosive. They're the strongest because they all understand that part of it. Right? But they're the worst football players we've ever coached.
Yeah.
They're the worst tacklers. They're the worst anglers. They're the worst blockers. They don't know who is the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. You know what I mean? That's probably exaggeration, but it's you know what I mean? You kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it was an element of that was one, I wanted to get him interested in football, and from that standpoint, man, there's a lot of different ways to do this. Two, I wanted to see himself amongst the All-America, amongst all those great guys. Can you envision yourself here? And he can or he can't, and I thought he did, and that was what we were getting. It was kind of included the entire tight end room. Everybody kind of had an assigned role in doing that, but it's all just development. Hey, what can you take from his game and apply it to your game? Find me 5 plays that look like our offense. How did he execute it? Different, are there any coaching points that I say, or are they doing it completely different than what I said? We probably need to figure it out. But it was a fun project, and it was cool, and I think RJ, bought into it and enjoyed it, and he's, like I said, he's a year in, he's more comfortable, he knows what's going on, he's understanding how to leverage his body and blocking positions, and then he's always been pretty elite route runner on the perimeter, and so now he's understanding those routes and what it is that we're trying to get from the entire concept, not just his route. We have a teaching progression, which is the what, how, and then why, and you can't go to the how until you know the what, and you can't go to the why until you know the how, and I think he's starting to get himself into that why, which is awesome. When you're teaching third level guys like that, and they already know what and how to do it, teach them why to do it, and then it makes more sense to them, and that gives them kind of an air of individuality and a little bit of creativity and flexibility. Where, all right, you're saying this, but I fit it better when I do this, and now, but I'm still getting it effectively done because I'm capturing the outside shoulder or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To piggyback off of that, last year you got 47 catches and 10 touchdowns out of your tight ends, and RJ had more than half of both of those numbers. Mm-hmm. Now you got a bunch of new faces. I think 3 freshmen in that group. What have you seen from the other tight ends not named RJ Maryland?
You know what? Nolan Matthews has had a really good offseason and good. He had a good spring practice. He had a big day yesterday, our first day in pads. Nolan is always from a prototype of what you look like, right? You'd print him off the printer and say, all right, this guy's the one that can do both, and really be an inline guy, can play in the backfield, play from the perimeter, and do those things. So to see him continue, he's kind of had some unfortunate injury type stuff come along, but he's stayed healthy. He's been tough. He's displayed a lot more toughness this fall than he has since I've been working with him. And so seeing him continue to mature and develop gives us more confidence every day, and him being able to contribute. I like Micah Hiltz's professionalism, and he got banged around today a little bit, so hopefully that doesn't hold him out for too long. But he is he's a guy that can provide instant depth and opportunity for our team, so I'm excited about Micah being out there. I think the 3 freshmen all have a lot of ability. I think they have the ability that we saw on tape in high school, and so obviously they're swimming right now, and it's hot, and everybody's loud, and everybody's yelling at them, and it's a little different than the recruiting process, right? That's the fun of fall camp, is to bring them back to reality so they can understand what it is that they're doing moving forward. But I like Tripp, I like Lonnie. I think Adam Moore has got an immense depth of talent, right? It's just a matter of he hadn't been here long, so learning what to do and getting, understanding all those things. But they're starting, it's already, both those guys kind of got some reps with the 2s today, starting to blend in to get some more of those high pressure reps, right? Where we're calling it, it's intense. You know, we do the split field stuff where they can kind of take their time and learn the plays, but you get over here and everything's faster. And so, you know, getting them caught up to that speed is always a challenge, but I do like them.
One more for Coach, if you got it.
How fun is it working with this offense? And then also, how much pressure is it when you look on paper what you've got to work with? Is there then pressure to have them perform?
Yeah, yes to both. No, it is. It's a great offense. It's a fun offense. I think we show a lot of different pictures. There's a ton of diversity in our offense, and we're kind of limited in the concepts that we do. You know, so it doesn't take a lot to. We're not necessarily practicing a lot, even though we're given a bunch of different pictures, if that makes sense. And so getting invested in that, the tempo with which we play, you know, I think Coach Lashley's really taken great initiative this fall, making sure that we are cleaned up. And I mean, I think we were top 3 in both red zone and third downs last year, and maybe top 10 in the country. I mean, we were really good. So continue to invest and push there and make sure that we're catching a lot of that was our quarterback, right, and Rasheed. So getting those guys caught back up. All the rumors I'm hearing out of Kansas City, that's a guy we're going to miss, right? So it's certainly Tanner. What he invested in our program was unmatched. It's scary to a degree because you don't want to screw it up. I don't guess. I think that we want to be fair to the pressure that they have, right? Because these guys are inexperienced and they've not played. So again, being a talented football player on tape is different than blending into an offense and being able to execute and do all that. And that's our job. So it's a ton of fun coaching those guys, right? It's a ton of fun coaching guys that are able to do the things that I could never do, but I dream about it, and then we kind of watch it come to fruition with those guys that can. And then, I probably like Preston. I don't think we can put pressure on ourselves. That's y'all's job, you know what I mean, to make sure that we do that. We know the ability that we have. We know that we play in a great conference. We know we have a enormous game, with Louisiana Tech rolling in here, and then we got 2 road games in the Big 12 back, in the month of September. So whatever expectations are laid out there, there's a reality of that's facing us in September. So we got to make sure that we can't get caught up in the noise and the things that are that, and really got to focus on Louisiana Tech and that September schedule that's coming at us, and we'll continue to do that.
Thanks, Coach. Awesome.
Cool, guys.